Humankind's history is inextricably linked to drugs, as much as food. Drugs, substances that have no normative value or use in the quest of continued survival. They did, however, offer alterations, a way to access realms that some people consider out of body or metaphysical, an underlying substructure, an invisible reality to the one that we perceive every day. Hey everyone, so in the preceding video about ghosts, I attempted to debunk the existence of ghosts using an unsolved problem in philosophy, i.e., how can two fundamentally different types of matter possibly interact with each other? And the letting out that I had never had, with any certainty, experienced anything more than my brain or my body. There's the implication that the world in which we live in is all there is that we could possibly perceive through the lens of human consciousness. However, there are altered states of human consciousness, ones which let us first realize that there is a normal state of human consciousness, the one which most of us experience for the majority of the time. Altered states of consciousness give us a metric to determine what normal consciousness is. These altered states can be achieved through several different avenues. All altered states of consciousness are merely a change in the configuration of neurotransmitters in the brain, resulting in a blockage or releasing of certain passageways over others. This purely physical process is said to unlock some extra physical sensation, wherein a consciousness could experience a parting from itself. The two most well-known cases of these instances are near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. But the causes of these two things are the same: a particular composition known as DMT. This is the substance that's responsible for our dreams. So could DMT assist a person in confirming a metaphysical substructure to the universe? Well, one problem is that every time somebody takes something that's associated with DMT, they eventually return and always have a story to tell. And their own reality tunnels and interpretations dictate how that story is going to go. So if I and a friend of mine did DMT under the exact same conditions, it's not as if wherever we go during this high is the same place. Some people have religion and use it as justification for believing in a beyondness of the brain in the body. And some users of DMT find the sensation so alien that they're convinced they could not have been occupying their bodies at the time, that they must have broken through to some other land wherein the mind has floated beyond its confines. But like I said, no simultaneous usage of DMT will allow two people to go to that same other place. There maintains a strict divide between what I experience and what the other experiences. That isn't to say the experience of DMT is something that you necessarily do alone, some believe. Atheists balk at the notion of God, of angels, and other worldly entities. And with the drug culture how it is today, so linked to abuse and addiction, sourced from clandestine shame and alienation from society under a closed mind, has rendered what is seen under a DMT trip as having no value or scientific purpose in our apprehension of the universe. Most people fear whatever that is, both as an internal desire not to get high and to be in opposition of the paradigm. But this limitation in what people are able to take legally only strangles facts and closes off possibilities for safe drug use. What I meant in terms of doing DMT alone is that one of the most common takeaways from the experience is said to be the presence of other entities. Like, say you're in a room high on DMT. It's highly likely that you'll experience a hallucination or perhaps something else entirely, wherein you will come into contact with autonomous entities, or, like I said, at least what you perceive as others. They are communicating with you. It's also entirely possible that this could just be a sophisticated reflection of one's own consciousness, or even just a particular activation of the location of our brain that perceives divinity. We just don't know yet. Then we could be accessing the cosmic consciousness, or should I say rather, a cosmic consciousness. Another thing that drugs do, in a sense, is that we're perceiving through a certain filter. And I don't just mean our senses here, because our senses are actually the faculty with which the filtering is happening. There's so much information that we're constantly receiving, and most of that information is superfluous. Our normal mode of consciousness is concerned with survival and continuity. Drugs take away, or rather shift that filter. So sometimes when you're high, what you're experiencing is very difficult to process because you're aware of so many different things at once that you don't usually notice. So there's nothing really mystical or metaphysical about that either. It's just a particularly different configuration of the world to you, but all still physical. And this overwhelming chunk of constant input animates and becomes manifested as entities that aren't truly entities in the sense of being angels or aliens. That is, they're a facsimile of existence to which we have breathed our own reality into. The conception of non-dualism also seems to envelop the user of DMT. Most of the time, the things that we perceive are as others. So there's a self, and then there's that other thing, what I am and what I am not. We are constantly separating ourselves from everything else. To apprehend everything as one can be pretty intense. Convinced that they've just had murky conversations with aliens or gods or other parts of their invisible selves that had manifested. It's a frightening thing because to others with limited understanding, you sound insane to them, or you're an incumbent schizophrenic, since drugs can alter the mind in a negative way permanently. Not a lot is understood about them still. Really, the most sane, rational person could potentially witness these autonomous entities. Well, under DMT's spell, it's practically inevitable. To conclude, it is just such a travesty that there exists a faint possibility to access a metaphysical realm during our own mortal lives. That these channels have been cut off from us for reasons that are very illogical. That is, they infringe on our own personal liberties. The individual should have the right to take DMT if they choose. Ideally, they should be well educated about the consequences and such, but nonetheless. Now, the answer may very well be, one day, that DMT does not grant you access outside of your own body. That as a brain and a body, you can't leave what you are. Still, finding out that answer seems like it's the utmost important thing, as it hinges upon providing evidence for or against our mortal existence. The way we behave and comport ourselves every day depends on our attitude of the afterlife, and we deserve it to ourselves as a species to make these inquiries with an open mind and legitimate scientific method combined with optimum knowledge and rationality. On top of that, DMT has shown potential as an antidepressant. So even if we aren't able to access anything metaphysical through the use of this drug, it still has an inherent utility. For now, those who wish to find these answers must do so as criminals. Our society has deemed that these questions are not worth answering. That things are good how they are now. Got religions killing each other, no one can come to a consensus. Somewhere a cosmic consciousness might be laying in waiting, as only the outlaws in our society interact within it, doing a nervous dance, constantly paranoid that this contact via substances, illegal for unethical reasons, result in an even more directly diminishing freedom, i.e., jail. This cosmic consciousness, which seems to detail and direct the user's altered state, is currently fleeting in a way that we cannot apprehend it. It's like, we get it, but we'll never know what it has been this entire time. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Links to my books are below in the description if you want to check those out. This is Ryan Starbloak, and I implore you to have a good day.